Okay, great. Good morning, everybody.
Good
So
morning.
Amy Stewart. I am the owner of the Night Watch Child Care Center in Salisbury, Maryland, and one of our like pillars and core values is that we really want to support our parents, especially with mental health. Most of our parents, well, not most, all of our parents, they put their kids first. It's always about the kids. The kids always have the best, newest, and our poor parents are working overnights, working 12-hour shifts, coming in, dragging, and they're not necessarily putting themselves first. So we wanted to have an event to talk about the importance, like why you need to put yourself first, put that oxygen mask on first. So we have a wonderful panel of mental health. We have moms, three moms, mental health, and also education folks that are going to be talking about the importance of it and how it's actually going to impact your parenting, which is going to boost the self-esteem and mental health of your child. It's all going to be correlated. So anyway, so we're just going to get started. I'm going to quickly introduce everybody, and then we're just going to get into the conversation. As we talk, if you have any questions, feel free to drop it in the chat. If you're watching this on the replay, feel free to just reply to the email, and we will get you an answer. So, all right. So first, we have Shonda Ward, who is my bestest best friend. If you could just briefly just introduce yourself a little bit, just about your credentials.
I'm Shonda Ward, and I'm an LCPC, and here in Salisbury, Maryland. And I work at the Crisis Center for Tidal Health, and I also am starting a sickle cell awareness program here on the
Great. All right, Dr. Sharon.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Sharon Washington. I am the pastor and founder of Global Hope Ministries. I'm a clinical chaplain with Tidal Health, and I am a U.S. Army veteran, and I am the favorite thing of my life is to be the mother of my son.
I actually taught Dr. Sharon's son for two different grades.
Mhm.
That's how we linked up. And, she's been one of my moms ever since.
Mhm.
And then lastly, we have our edu mom, busy mom expert, Miss Ashley Kelly.
Hello, so my name is Ashley Kelly. I am a certified teacher here in Houston, Texas. I have been teaching for about 8 years now. My business is Lit Life Planning Consulting, where I focus on assisting working mothers as well as educators who are mothers and trying to maintain a healthy balance between their careers and their personal lives, because we know that it is very easy to get consumed in, one or two categories. Like we're either full into our careers or full into parenting, and then we kind of lose ourselves. So my purpose is to kind of help mothers to maintain the balance that works for them, because it doesn't look the same for everyone.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry. I had to mute somebody. Go ahead, Ashley.
That was just about it. My passion it's really just about helping people, not just children, because I love helping the children, but I also have found this passion for just helping mothers to find themselves again, because we just get lost in, these titles, and it is important that we kind of put ourselves first.
Yes. Okay, great. All right. So I've shared these questions with the panel ahead of time, but we are just going to be having a conversation. Again, if you have questions, feel free to drop them in the link. I'm so excited to see Miss Precious here. Precious and I are colleagues. We've known each other maybe 2-3 years in the virtual space. I think we've maybe met once at a conference in person. We got some more people. Oh, we got Miss Bacon. Miss Bacon from Prince Street Elementary, I believe. I'm excited she's here. Okay. All right. So the first question we had is, what does mental health stress, what does that look like as a parent? Shonda, I'll start with you. I know you've been working with families in the mental health space for quite a bit.
So what I normally see is that it does not always look like what you think it should look like. Sometimes it comes out in anger, even if it may seem like, oh, well, this child is doing something, this parent may look angry, but anger is a secondary emotion. They first are probably feeling inadequate. They're probably feeling not connected. They feel like, why did I do this? What happened? Did I fail somewhere? And then that's why they probably look angry.
Mm-hmm. And then Ashley, how do you see that in education? I know, like, I worked with a lot of, I worked in alternative school for the majority of my career, and there was a lot of avoidance when it came to parents, not because I don't think they didn't care. I just think that it was very overwhelming, especially when their children have emotional disturbances or any other kind of challenging behaviors. By the time they got to us at the alternative school, they were kind of over it. Do you see any of those types of stress behaviors when it comes to parents and kind of maybe feeling stressed out about school?
Whew, definitely. So I have been in 5th grade for 5 years. This will be my 3rd year in 6th grade. And so it was like in 5th grade, you kind of, they're established, it's like the students will have a reputation, the parents are used to a certain whatever. And so I know that for me as a teacher, I had to get, like the first few years, you kind of do what all the other teachers are doing. And I'm like, okay, well, tell me about this kid. You get your rosters beginning of the year. And so, okay, what about this kid? And then the people come in, oh, you have so-and-so. And so then you go into it, with these preconceived notions about this kid. So then you meet the parents, and then it's like, you kind of have, whatever idea about the parent. So I had to stop doing that because you find that, oh my gosh, you're not really giving this child a chance or this parent a chance. And so when I got to 6th grade, I realized, that the parents are used to a certain whatever. You're going to have parent or the teachers that's going to be very interested in trying to help you, or they're gonna be like, oh my gosh, such and such did this again. And depending on how you approach that will determine, how that parent responds. And sometimes it's so sad because I can recall like having one, parent, and I was calling to say like good things, but she was so used to hearing like negative things. She's like, okay, well, whatever, because he'll be bad next week. And I'm just like, no, it's okay. So then it's like, I got to the point, I'm not even going to call you. If it's something that we can handle in this class, I'm not even going to call you because he deserves a chance, to start over. So sometimes the parents, just like the students, get used to, this perception or, how the teachers are going to view their kids, and it shows. And it's just a very sad kind of cycle. And I think that is in the education, we don't necessarily support the parents enough. And that feeds into that just feeling drained, feeling.
Good. So I want to loop back to what Shonda was saying about feeling inadequate, and then I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Sharon. So again, Dr. Sharon, I knew you first as a parent of one of my students, and you were very active. You were coming to every parent conference. I mean, you bring me dinners. But how would you say in regards to like just parent stress in regards to school and like not feeling like you're not doing enough or that you're not, advocating enough for your kids? Did you ever experience any of that, and how did you overcome it?
Well, when I became a single parent, because I didn't start out as a single parent, but when I became a single parent, I kind of thought it through. And I said, okay, I got this little boy. What am I going to do here? So I diverted kind of back to my own upbringing. I remember my mom went to college. My dad went to the military. And so me and my sister were left with my grandparents. But my grandparents included my aunts, my uncles, and whoever else was in the community. Everybody picked up everybody knew everybody. And it was kind of like I diverted myself back when it came to Shamar. I knew he was special from the beginning. And so I said, okay, I need some help with this. So, I mean, people like Dr. Hager took on to us almost immediately. I don't know if she saw that I needed help or just thought she's involved, so I'll get in on it. But what a big help she was to, and then where I believe where she saw other teachers saw her doing that. Then I got Tanya Bradell, then I got Shelton Handy and Samantha Corbin. All these people are teachers. And I really was an advocate for Shamar. Everybody knew it. And whoever else's kid that I could be an advocate for, but I didn't have to do much when I went out there because they had him. They would call him. I remember Dr. Hager one time, he was acting crazy in school. She caught me right there in the class and had put me on speaker and had him on acting a fool. And I was like, boy, if you don't, I'll come over there with my nightgown on and, or whatever. But he always knew. He said, Mom, everybody in school knows you. Well, I made myself known like that. That's what I wanted because I knew I couldn't raise him on my own. So I would say, make it a community, engage your children in sports. Sports acts as, some people say, oh, well, you're not going to the NBA or whatever sport or NFL, whatever. But for me, for Shamar, sports equaled a thing he could do without being in trouble. He could have responsibility in it. He could have mentors in it. He could have people that would pull him forward to the next step of his life. So it posed to me a great source of getting my own self some rest. Yeah, because when he was with some of his coaches were Dr. Warren. I love all these people. I'm still their mother too. But when he had those people and I was secure in my heart that he was okay, I came home and I went to bed, because I had my other life. And that acted as a source of kind of like self-love for me. So I got to have my own life plus be very active in his life. Because look, I would stay at the school 8 hours a day. And they knew it, and he knew it.
I really like, so those of you that are, my former name was Dr. Hager. So
Yes.
Chuck Hager.
Yes.
Married since then. But anyway, so Dr. Sharon, I love that strategy of getting your kids into sports. And Shauna, I know that your kids were always in an activity. And, I never thought about it as a way to get help for your kids, that you don't have to do everything by yourself. It's okay to lean on the basketball coach. Shauna's youngest was in band.
Yeah.
They were always in something. Girl Scouts, like they were always something. So it doesn't necessarily have to be school. Ashley, with your kids and stuff, like do you also see that, whether from a teacher perspective where parents are able to kind of use other mentors, or do you yourself as a busy mom, have you used that strategy, or what do you think about it?
It's when you're working in an area where, the economic demographic is not very high, you have to be resourceful. And so I will say that those parents that do kind of, go that extra mile to find what resources are out there, because what I've learned, even as, a married person, with two children, I'm still looking for the free stuff. Like I'm still looking for the low cost things because I want to save as much money as I possibly can. So when I find those things, I make it a point to let my parents know, hey, Harris County is offering such and such, because it is important. And I know for me, starting out, when, my husband and I first started having kids, it's like, oh, we're married. I don't really need, all these extra, people and support. It's okay, we got this, Well, over the last 3 years, I really realized I can't do, we can't do this by ourselves. And he's a firefighter, so he's never home. And so neither of us have a lot of family in Houston because I'm from California, he's from Florida. So I had to learn to really rely on the people that I could actually trust. And, you can't be sending your people with everybody, out here either. So I've learned to really build quality relationships and trust those people to help me, because I got burned out and I can't do it, all on my own. And, just because, my kids are in a 2-parent household does not mean that they are not going to benefit from being involved in outside activities. And so once we did start getting them involved in things, I was like, oh, I can breathe, so just like Dr. Sharon was saying, it was like, oh my gosh, right now they're not here. And this was not even on this was not even on purpose. I found out my husband was off last night. I was like, homegirl, you busy? Watch these kids for a few hours. So they were gone, last night. And it's like, if I had not gotten out of that mentality that I could do it all on my own, then I wouldn't. And I still don't have very many people, but the few people that I have are so close to my heart. And they know, if I'm asking, I need it. And they too will see, Ashley, you've been a little busy, you look a little tired. Let me go ahead and get those kids, because they know that I'm not always going to ask. So having people that support you, whether that's in an extracurricular activity or a sport or whatever, and having 2 kids, it's like, I have to be at 2 places and I have to do 2 times the things, but it is worth it when I can sit down and read a book, while one kid is at Scouts and one kid is at sports, and I can just, breathe a little and be Ashley and not mom or the wife, and just, be.
Donna, I'm gonna let you chime in on that, because I see you nodding your head. What
It's been so long since it was really funny because when my children were very little, Amy came over one day and said, "Can I borrow your kids?" And I went, "What?" And she was like,
So
"I don't know how I'm going to go to an event and it's a kid event and I don't want to look weird, but I want to take kids and I want to go." And so she took my kids. That was the very first time I ever let my children go with
Right.
anyone. And I did not know what to do. And we stood there and we looked at each other. I looked at him, he looked at me and I said, "Well, what are we supposed to do?" And he said, "I don't know." And so we cleaned the house, we did all kinds of stuff. And by the time we sat down and to watch a movie, she was coming in with the kids.
Coming
And we were
back.
like, oh, but it was great because that
Yeah.
was my first introduction in, oh, other people can help.
Yeah.
Oh, and so I felt a sense of relief and I put everything away and it was awesome. And then I started saying, okay, guess what? Someone told me today, she said, you know what, if you want to have a good Girl Scout, you want to put your kids in good Girl Scout troop, you need to be the leader. And I went, no, 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 oh God, please no. And she said, no, you need to be the leader because if you're the leader, you know exactly what they're going to do.
Yeah.
That was my first little introduction to leadership, but then it also showed them leadership and it also showed them how to do things. So when they got into sports, not only were they members, then they became mentors and then they became leaders. And before they left, they were leaders of the flag group.
That's right.
And before you know it, I was just like, oh, okay. Like this is good. This is wonderful.
I'm even seeing that with Kyra now at UMES.
Oh, yeah.
Just stepping up with various organizations,
Wow.
with your sickle cell organization. So I definitely look what you did, Mom. I'm so proud of you.
Only with a mentor that would not quit.
That's good.
Yeah, and I think it's important that parents don't just think you have to get the coach or the other person who has kids because they most likely need a break.
Yeah.
Donna and I worked well together because I don't have children of my own. And so I was kind of like that that other voice in her head of you're a person first.
Mm-hmm.
You're Shonda first. Let's get back to the girl before she had kids. Have a friend that can take you away for the weekend. Shonda will talk about it all the time. I've snatched her up and taken her away for the weekend, for the day, for lunch, whatever. So having those friends in your circle is definitely really important. And then, Shauna, I'm gonna ask you another question about the health. I mean, the mental health stress. You're gonna share a little bit later about your sickle cell organization and why you kind of got into it. Share a little bit about, because I know parents can get stressed out about education. What happens when you are in a rural area and your children have unique medical needs that are chronic? How does that manifest with stress? What did that look like for you? What did that look like between you and your husband? You as a family? How was that? What was that looking like in regards to stress for you?
Early on, we found out after my first daughter was born that she had sickle cell disease. And we had no idea what that was, what it looked like, and what it was going to be for our family. Then we wound up having a second child who also had sickle cell disease. And I was like, wait a minute, we were supposed to get 1 in 4 chance. We got the 4th chance each time. Oh, but it wound up being very stressful because our area does not have a sickle cell trained hematologist. And so we would get 3 rounds of medication and then they would send them what we call across the bridge, which means it was 2.5 hours, almost 3 hours. So it had gotten to a point where we would have an overnight bag packed by our door. And so whenever child got sick, automatically, boom, we would grab that bag and we were at the hospital. We already had our little comfy slippers, our comfy little blankets, our comfy little stuff. So we were ready to go. And it almost became so routine that even my friends were like, so what are you guys doing this weekend? I was like, we're probably in the hospital. Like it just became so normal. And it shouldn't have been. But then eventually we got to a point where we were saying they sent us across the bridge and we would go across the bridge and we would be there with that. But then one of my daughters really, really got ill and wound up being in a wheelchair for 3 years. And that was very stressful because we had one child in rehab, one child in elementary school or middle school. And we were back and forth, and trying to say, well, you stay. My husband stayed there for a week, and then I would come on the weekend with the other child and then the other child there, so she could visit with her sibling. And then I would stay there and then he would come back and stay with her. And so it was just like very, very stressful. I mean, the bags under my eyes were whatever. And just for the grace of God, my job was like, yeah, you can work from home. And that was way before COVID. So I think at the end of the day, that support system was there, but it was very stressful on us and like that. And I was glad that I was with a mental health group that was able to me and say, listen, you look like you're stressed. Come in my office. And there's been plenty of times I've gone to my supervisor and just boo crying like that. But then she said, well, straighten up when you go out of here and go out and do my job, but it was very difficult. And, it's many nights when you just didn't know if things were going to work out, but by the grace of God, she's working fine and she's doing well.
Can I say something?
Yes, Dr.
Hello, can you see me?
No. That's
Oh,
my husband.
hey, everybody.
Hi.
So, yeah, I guess I have the male voice and all this. Of course, I'm Shonda's husband. And I heard the question that was mentioned, but also, and it was stressful. One of the things I want to mention is that our faith and believing in God, that was one of the things that really held us together during that difficult time, not knowing the uncertainty that comes with this disease and, the support system. And for me, I think when we were going through what we were going through, I didn't quite understand how other parents who maybe who didn't have a two-parent household, how do they do what they do? I mean, I know I have a state job. My benefits are good. My insurance is good. I had a lot of time on my job where I could just take off and spend the whole summer and, be in the hospital with my daughter, but it was very, very daunting. But while I was in the hospital, I began to look around at other patients, the other kids who had traumatic brain injuries, who didn't have arms, didn't have legs, who were quadriplegic. And, even though in my circumstance, one of the things that I did, I kind of, God allowed me to look at these other kids and say, why are you so sad? Like, why are you complaining when your child is not that? You know what I mean? So it kind of made me reflect and just say, God, thank you. Thank you, Lord, for, even though my condition, my daughter's condition was not where it needed to be, it also gave me hope and faith. And I started praying for the other families, the other kids, because I saw what they were enduring. A child being blind, having a traumatic brain injury, not being able to speak. So I just began to praise God and thank God, for what I had. But it is something, and I just want to, tell families or anyone out there, you have to believe in God and rely on your faith when those tough times come along, because they come and they go, and we take our victories as they come. But I do want to commend Shonda, my wife, because it does take a team. She was there, through thick and thin, and sometimes we argued and we were at each other's throat about certain things, but we made it through. And again, it's all because of the grace of God. I just want to say that.
Thanks, Rick. I appreciate it. And I like that he briefly touched on that sometimes they will argue, because that is a behavior of stress. So, and the two of them both had great jobs. There's so many degrees in that house, master's and doctor degree, you know what I mean? So like nobody is, what's the word I'm looking for? What's the,
Or safe.
what is that? What
Spared or safe from despair.
From any of that, from any type of stress related to parenting, because they both, like I said, homeowners, good jobs, they got married, then they had kids, you know what I mean? They did it the right way, quote unquote, and still, but the fact that they had a plan in place, the fact that they had the bag, that they had, like, yes, it was stressful to go 2 hours away or whatever, and they were always at the hospital. But I watched Shonda advocate for her oldest with the 504 plan. She was telling me that they had her crawling on the bus, and I'm like, what do you mean she's crawling on the bus? like just all these different things that she had to go through and learn. And that's definitely, as a parent, navigating through all this. So you're dealing with your stress, but then also having to push through the stress and say, I need to table this for right now because I need to advocate for my kid. You can cry later, but to push through it. And I think as parents, most parents, a lot of parents have that endurance. So I'll go ahead and move on to the next question. This had to do with, why is it important for parents to have confidence? How can high self-esteem and positive self-image with parenting influence the well-being of children? So how do you think that your confidence as a parent in your various stages has impact? How have you seen it as your children? Because I know Shonda's kids are grown. Dr. Sharon has grown. They're not grown to me. They're still babies to me. But how would you? How would you see how why confidence is important for you guys, and how have you seen it kind of impact your children?
Well, I would say for Shamar, I kind of think he gives out what he gets. Like for me, I kind of also think he's proud of me.
Yeah.
Because he knows, my mom has had different things happen to her that wouldn't be the greatest thing that happened to anybody, but she pushed through it. And he always says, Mom, just let some stuff go. You don't have to win every battle. I see all these women on here, that woman. Oh, well, we're going to find a way. And so he's very confident because that's what I give. And if he says, I can't do that, I'm like, why not? For every problem, there's a resolution. Even if I got to think it through, and it may take a bit of time. And I always try to tell him, it may not be today. There's the opportunity. The Bible talks about this. God gives the opportunity for certain things to happen. He gives the opportunity to love. You have to take it. So the opportunity to be great, like Dr. Stewart, the opportunity. So you have to take it. And so I kind of think with Shamar, he gives out what he gets, and there's no, I'm just going to take a no for an answer. It's like, that no might be coming from you, but the next person is just going to love me. And so, and I think that's how he carries himself. Kind of like, we've had some struggles with him. Well, Dr. Stewart knows. And he would tell everybody, she's always got me sitting beside her. She said him. She said it beside him.
In 10th grade, right next to me.
But today, he's 20, he just turned 23. And I think when he was 21, this is his confidence. He went and got a plane ticket, called the people, called the credit union, got himself a loan for a car in Ohio, got a plane ticket, flew there, told them he wasn't paying any more than what he had on his check for his car, brand new Mustang, and drove it home. Now, if he was confident like that, 21, and got the loan, I didn't sign for anything. He got on the airplane alone. Just did it. That was 21. Now, what do you think he's doing now? That's the confidence that his mother exudes. I remember when I got ready to go into the military and everybody said I was too small because I was 5'2", you're too little to do that. And you're a Black woman. Now, ladies, I'm probably older. So this was a while back. But how can you make this one? My confidence is I can do anything I set my mind to. And and the Bible speaks of, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So that's what I say for Shamar. And I'm going to add this, my nephews, my sisters on here. So the same that my son got, my nephews got. And we tried to raise our kids as brothers and sisters. They got the same thing. And anybody else that came along, any other kids that my son was bringing home every day.
And I'll just chime in just from the teacher perspective of Shamar, that he was settled. Even if he wasn't turning his homework in, and even But there was a piece about him
Yeah.
because he knew his mom had him regardless. He knew that you were out here interceding for him with the teachers, that at the end of the day, I was always going to look out for him. I was always
Mhm.
checking his grades in other classes. Like, I was in his business because you had advocated and built that strong relationship.
Mhm.
And so there was a settle to him. So the fact that he's 21, I mean, sorry, 23, but being able to do that at 21, and I've got kids that were in that class messaging me about things like, how do I apply for a job? How do I get an apartment? How do I make, can I make grilled cheese in the oven? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No judgment. That's not where that's coming from. But to
Right.
when you have a confident mom
Yeah.
right there beside you, that you gave him a leg up.
Yeah.
So, and then I'll turn it over to Ashley for a minute. How do you, like, in the classroom, do you see a difference between parents who are confidently advocating and, you know, respectfully advocating for their kids versus maybe ones that, you know, need that support with their confidence?
Most definitely, because you're going to have, your parent that's going to call you every 5 seconds because, that grade right now is at, a 89, and they want to know, okay, well, why is it not a 90? And I'm like, okay, I got this, no worries. And so sometimes I'll get like really irritated, but then I have to like take a step back and it's okay, I can't fault you for being involved in speaking up for your kid, because if you don't, who is? And so you do see that in the class, because those same kids will be like, okay, miss, how do I get this 88 to a 90? And it's like, okay, for that, I really just want to give you the 2 points, because you don't see it often. And it's so disheartening. And so I make that like, I want you to learn how to be a better reader and writer. I really want you to do all those things. However, if I teach you life skills, that is so much more relevant to me than you being able to chunk a passage. I need you to also have the confidence to ask me a question like, can you make a grilled cheese in the oven? And if you don't build relationships with students, it's not going to work. And I know that I can't change their parents, but what I can do is help them to be confident. And no matter what, your parents are doing, I can instill that in you as best as I can in the 9 months that I have you. And so it is very relevant. The kids that are, willing to ask a question, and those who are kind of quiet, but that they have questions, or they may pull you to the side to ask this question. And a lot of times they're good, but they don't have that confidence in themselves because it's not something that is instilled, or I don't, maybe they're scared, and it shows, what kind of conversations are being had at home to kind of get them to step out of, that limiting belief or mindset. And it's very sad. So sometimes I feel like I've been overly confident at home, especially being a teacher, because you will not go to school and be like this, and you will not, be that student. And so like I had to talk over it with my therapist, and I'm like, whew, okay, I don't like this. So I need to do some things differently, because now my kid is stressed because, she got a 98. And I'm like, okay, it's okay, baby. You don't have to be perfect in all things. So it is important to make sure that, even in our confidence, that we are still allowing our kids to be kids and not try to live up to who we want them to be or fit into a box, because that is what I found like myself doing. And okay, even though I didn't know how to be a kid as a kid, I have to learn that as an adult so that I don't force my kids, to so confident or, so mature that they're not living, And so I have found that once I realized what I was doing, they got they were a little bit more relaxed. And that's hard, especially as parents. Oh, I'm doing something wrong, I got to fix this. And I think that's the part that a lot of parents maybe don't recognize. It's like, we're just doing what we're used to, or we're doing what we think works, and not taking the time to like make adjustments. And it's like, it's okay. They're kids. They're our kids. They're going to love us. So it's okay.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see what we can do as educators to help parents advocate. It's one thing, like coming out to events, like that's one thing. But the reality of it is some parents don't feel comfortable in groups. Some parents don't have the schedule for that. Some parents had a really bad experience in school So they don't want anything to do with it. So I'll be interested to see as we start to prioritizing mental health. I think when COVID happened and all the kids were home and the parents, we really saw that disconnect between parents and schools. I don't like it when it boils into a disrespectful conversation between an educator and a parent. So helping parents feel confident to respectfully ask questions and what to do when you can't come to the event, or when you come to the event, what types of things should you be looking for, because it's not just about showing up to a PTA and selling popcorn. Like, there's more
Right.
to it, and how can we boost their confidence so that they don't feel like they have to come in and be a bully or intimidate during an IEP meeting, that they can come in and respectfully have a professional conversation about their kids, because at the end of the day, they are the experts on their kids. I understand we're with them for 40 hours a day, but they are the experts on their kids, and we just need to respect them as that. And then Shonda, I'll let you answer that question also. Why is it so important that parents have confidence? And if you could kind of tell us from the mental health perspective, I know you've been working with families for a long time, and I know that one of the things that you do is empower parents to be great parents. So what type of advice would you give, and why do you think that's so important?
I think most of all, you have to ask them about what is important to the kid, but what's important to them. But then also, do they have balance? So my thing is, you sometimes advocate for the wrong thing. They want that kid to come in and get that 90 in the class, but meanwhile, the kid is falling apart somewhere else. And so my thing is, okay, they might get a C, and maybe they could do better or that. But here's the thing: are they well balanced in sports? Are they well balanced with social events? Are they social media balanced? Are they do they have the confidence to ask? Do they have things like that? Are they taking care of their hygiene and other needs too? Like, so it's got to be these balanced things like that, because sometimes, honestly, as parents, I remember my mother used to do it to me. She would be like, oh my God, I want you to read so bad. I want you to be so great in education and things like that. And I'm thinking, not cool. I could care less about school. I just wanted to be social. I wanted to talk. I wanted to have fun. I wanted to do things with my friends, whatever. But she was just so hard about the education part that we didn't even think about the social part. And so it's a balance. You got to find the balance. And every kid is not going to be, it's going to have to just balance through and say, okay, guess what? I'm going to be good at something else. And so let's try to find out what's their niche. What are they good? What do they do good? What's wonderful about them? And then let's target that. And then guess what? Then they will excel in that. And other things will come.
I love that. I love
If I
Okay.
could say something,
Yeah.
because it's a slippery slope, right? So I'm thinking about all these questions you guys are asking, and and growing up and thinking how I was, sometimes sometimes kids don't just get it at the moment. You know what I mean? Sometimes it just takes time because, I thought I was growing up a pretty mediocre student. And then when I felt like I didn't get the type of rewards that I needed from my parents because we didn't have a whole lot of resources financially, like getting the cool shoes and getting gifts and things like that, I was kind of thinking like, when you do well, you get a reward, right? And so because we didn't have a lot of things financially to get the things that other kids have, I said, you know what? I looked at myself, so why am I doing well? Like, why do I feel like I need to get good grades when, I don't get any cool shoes or nice, pair of jeans and things like that. So I just kind of fell off. But lo and behold, somewhere I turned things around, and became the person I was in education, because I wasn't that person growing up. I didn't have the confidence. I was the shy kid. I was the person that wouldn't ask questions when I didn't clearly know the answer when the teacher was asking questions about arithmetic or an assignment. I wouldn't say anything because I was afraid of what other people thought about me. And so oftentimes I wasn't getting what I needed. But when it comes to things like that in regard to parents, expectations is very, very important. And now for my daughters, now that I've achieved some level of education, the expectation is you know, we want you to do well too, but there's a pressure that comes with that because she sees mom and dad as having a doctorate and all these degrees, as you mentioned, and now she feels pressure. And I don't want to get her to a point where she feels like she has to, you know, you have to be your authentic you. You know what I mean? We want you to achieve, we want you to do well, but don't stress yourself out trying to be who I am. Although I want you to do that and more, and I think she's doing a great job of doing that. Takara and Nadia, if you're out there listening. You know, we always want you to do well, but again, we as parents have to be kind of mindful and kind of cultivate that environment for our kids, to be the best they can be somehow without pressuring them to a point where they might break.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that makes sense, guys.
Yeah, it does. I see that a lot with Dr. Sharon. You know, Dr. Sharon has so many degrees, just like the Ward's house. I mean, a ton of degrees. Yet Shamar, he's like, I'm gonna find my own way. I know he took some like Bible classes, but like he's not being a lifelong student like his mama. Like he's going out and doing other things. So like I love that you guys are giving yourself permission. And even with the Wards, one is at university, the other she's finding her way. And I love that, you know, giving the kids the space to build their own confidence. And it's mainly because they saw you guys do it. So
yeah.
Y'all. Okay, all right. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap up this conversation. I'm gonna give I'm sorry. Shada, yes. I don't know what you're pointing at.
Actually.
Me, I think. I have one more thing to like add to that. And from the educator standpoint, it is so easy to force like our perception of things onto students. And so because you're not that kid that's always asking the questions, then that means, oh, you know, you're not confident. We have to accept the fact that confidence and all of that looks different. And you have to take into consideration their religions and their ethnicity and how things look different, you know, in all backgrounds. And it took me a few years, you know, in education to understand that, you know, everybody's not going to look you in your eyes. So that doesn't mean that they're not being respectful. It's like, get to the bottom line. Are you hearing me? It doesn't matter, you know, how that looks, you know, on the outside. If you're like, I would like for you to look me in my eye, but then it may have a confidence thing. It may be, you know, cultural. And it takes time to like learn those things, but we have to make sure that we're also not pressuring kids to be who we want them to be as teachers and as parents. And so it may look like, you know, well, if you can't, in giving them those options, right? So if you're not going to raise your hand and ask the question, the point is, I want you to ask the question if you're not clear, and I need you to be comfortable with that. So that may look like you writing it down and putting it on sticky note, and then now you're still getting your needs met without trying to be this, you know, outwardly expressive person that I would love for you to be. So we have to make sure that we're meeting the kids where they are as educators and as parents, and not forcing them again to be our perception of, you know, these different things.
And I think that we can take that advice with the parents that we mentor, that you have to make it look like your mom. We've got a lot of moms at the Night Watch that are taking a gentle parenting approach. Want to whip their kids. I got whipped. I'm not judging my mom, but I realized that I don't necessarily know if that stopped my smart mouth. I still have my smart mouth, and I still don't clean my room. It worked. But to have natural consequences and having conversations with kids, and like I see these moms really wanting to try and talk and speak differently to their children and change things up, and not really having direction, and then getting kickback from, not like this, like negative kickback from pushback, that's the word I'm looking for, pushback from other family members of like, well, they just need to spend a weekend with me, one weekend. And I'm like, well, what are you going to do in 48 hours? What are you doing in 48 hours that all of a sudden they're going to be fixed? Mindset, if I beat them enough, if I'm harsh to them, if I yell at them enough, it's going to fix them. And we know as adults that does not work. And we mentor these parents, letting them know that gentle parenting, conscious parenting, whatever the new word of it is okay. You do not have to whip your kids. You don't have to lock them in the room. Like making them sit at the dinner table till they're finished. That actually creates really unhealthy eating habits. I mean, I remember doing that as a kid. So what happened? I don't like vegetables as an adult. Like I'm trying to incorporate them, but it's because my dad would make me sit at the table for hours and stare at this plate of green beans that I was not going to eat. I will sit here all night. That's fine. You get me 2 weekends a month and you want me to sit here until 8 o'clock staring at a cold plate of food. If you didn't want to hang out with me at So, but anyway, like that's just a whole other can of worms. That's the next
Yeah,
time.
that's another conversation.
Anyway, as we be to our parents, just let them know like it's okay to try new things. It's okay to mess up. It's okay to try something new. It's okay to do something completely different that you've never even heard of before. That sounds too woo woo, or that's white people. Like that's how white
Yeah.
people for kids. Like
Mhm.
conversation happens too. So we just got to support them and love them and just give them those resources and help build those confidence. So I'm gonna give each one of our speakers about 2-3 minutes. They're gonna share a little bit about the things that they do in the community and how you can connect with them. So Ashley, I'll let you go first.
Okay, so in regards to my school, at this time, I am working with my principal to work on ways to get parents more involved on the campus. Because a lot of times we say, well, the parents don't do this, or the parents don't know this. Well, we can't keep faulting them if we're not giving them a chance
Yeah.
to be better. So I'm doing that for our campus. And then I'm also going to be putting together different workshops with my own business to help parents. I wanted a membership, but I'm finding that that's a little bit more complex to put together. So if I just host different workshops about different things to help parents bridge that gap, between the school and their homes, that is one project that I am working on with Lit Life Planning. So you can reach me at edumomlifestyle.com. I am on Instagram the same way, or litlifellc.com will get you to my website as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ashley. Shonda, I'll let you go next.
So my daytime job would be working at Tidal Health, which is our community hospital at the crisis center. We work with trying to provide resources for people in the community from age 5 all the way to 105, with trying to help them with getting mental health services and getting resources that they need when they're in a crisis. So all they have to do is just come to the door and they come in and they get assessment and then they get to the right door. So that's my daytime job. And then my other job is, since 2019, I started the Eastern Shore of Maryland Sickle Cell Disease Association. And so I did that in the love of my children and my husband and I. And then, so we are having our first sickle cell walk on September 17th, and it is Sickle Cell Awareness Month. So on that Friday, we're doing a blood drive because that's very important for sickle cell people. A lot of people say, oh, I don't give blood. I don't like needles and things like that. But if you needed blood, you definitely would take needles and you would need everything then. And so when we don't, as African Americans, give blood, then we don't have opportunities to save lives. So then that evening, we're doing Third Friday, which is the September 16th, and we're getting a proclamation from Mayor Jake Day. And then we're on 17th, we're doing the walk from 11 to 2. And then on Sunday, we're going to church.
Yes, that's my best friend. Yay!
Only with Amy's help us saying, what's next? What are we doing next? What's next?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
So, Shonda, how can we reach you if we want more information about your nonprofit and the walk and everything?
You can always follow me on social media on Instagram and Facebook. Is the through Eastern Shore Sickle Cell Association. But I also have an email of esmscda@gmail.com. So that's just Eastern. That's all the letters written out. But yep. So that's me.
Yay! All right, and Dr. Sharon, you finish us up.
Wow, I am honored to be on here with you ladies. I just think this is so great. Amy, I am so proud of you. I'm telling you, I've known you forever, but you are really killing it. I'm telling you. And I just want to say this. And then the thought that I got to marry you, marry you and Ben. Every time I think about that, it's like,
I know.
so I just want to finish up by saying I actually am retired. I've been retired for 11 years from the state of Maryland. I was their auditor, but I chose to volunteer at the hospital for something to do. And they begged me to come on staff, so I'm on staff. And I just love it. I just love helping people, talking to people, just loving on them. I am pastor and founder of Global Hope Ministries, a hybrid ministry. And it's all about looking out for people that people don't want, people that people throw away, people that people feel like can't do anything, or just need help finding themselves. And I feel like my son Shamar helped me be an advocate for those people. Shamar does have a bachelor's degree now. He graduated magna cum laude of his class.
Yes.
Of course he did, right? Only after I killed him a couple of times, but that's another story. He told somebody, I literally died 2 or 3 times. And I was like, yeah, you did. But I thank you. You can contact me anytime. I'm global because of my military. When I was in the military, I was all over the world. So I'm global. You can look up Global Hope Ministries Incorporated or just Sharon Melvin, Washington. You can call me anytime at the hospital. I will call you back. Ask for me and I'll call you back. And also, Shonda, if you need any help over there, please, don't hesitate to involve the chaplains.
Okay, great. Thank you, ladies, and thank you so much those of you that showed up, and thank you those of you that are going to watch the replay. I'm Dr. Amy Stewart. This is going to be the first of many. We're just so glad to have you, and we're just excited to offer this to the community, and we just want to help parents because we know that's just going to trickle down and help our little ones, and you know how that goes. So, all right, guys, thank you guys so much, and I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up, and you all have a great weekend. See ya. Bye-bye, everybody.
Blessings.
Thank you.